Okay, hello everyone. Today's our presentation, Learning Progression, is based on the domain numbers and operations in base 10. This presentation is given by yours truly, Jessica Johnson, and my partner,
Christina Bodenhamer.
Like I said earlier, the domain that we chose to base our project on was numbers and operations in base 10.
And the standard we chose was ccss.math.content.3.nbt.a.1, which is use place value understanding to round whole numbers to the nearest 10 or 100. And the standard for mathematical practice is number 6, attend to precision.
The kindergarten standard, in order to learn how to round in the first place, is ccss.math.content.k.nbt.a.1, which is working with numbers 11 through 19 to gain foundations for place value. And the goal for this particular standard is to make and take apart numbers from 11 to 19 into tens and 1 to 9 ones. The prior knowledge needed in order to grasp this concept is, first of all, knowing your numbers 1 through 10, counting, and making and taking apart numbers 1 through 10. For this standard, it is concrete models like linking 10 numbers could be used in order to grasp the conceptual knowledge. So linking actual objects together in order to represent a certain number in a certain place tense is a great way for younger students to grasp the conceptual knowledge of teen numbers and place value. Moving on, the first grade standards needed or skills needed in order to learn the concept of rounding is ccss.math.content.1.nbt.b.2, which is understanding that 2-digit numbers represent amounts of tens and ones. And the goal for this standard is to be able to recognize the digits that represent amounts of tens in the tens place and ones in the ones place in a 2-digit number. Prior knowledge for this standards that you should have learned in kindergarten is that 10 is a set of 10 ones. You should know how to find different combinations to make 10, and also how to compose and decompose teen numbers with a group of 10 ones, and some more 10s, 1 through 9. Again, with this group, this is also learning this skill or standard is concretely modeled. So using base 10 blocks in order to represent numbers written in expanded form and standard form. Base 10 blocks is a tool that is used throughout elementary school in order to grasp this concept. And for second grade, in order to grasp the concept of rounding, the standard ccss.math.content.2.nbt.ta, which is understanding that the 3-digit numbers of a 3-digit number represent amounts of hundreds, tens, and ones. And in this standard, the goal is to be able to recognize that the digits that represent amounts of hundreds, tens, and ones in a 3-digit number. Prior knowledge to attain this standard and skillfully attain the knowledge is knowing numbers 11 through 19 are groups of tens and some ones, and also that 2-digit numbers represent amounts of tens and ones. In order to model conceptual knowledge for second grade standards, understanding that three-digit numbers of three-digit numbers represent amounts of hundreds and tens, we do modeling with Boom Cards, which is a online resource using base 10 blocks, showing representation of 3, 2, and 1-digit numbers.
Okay, hello. So I'm going to talk about the standard for third grade. It's ccs.math.content.3.nbt.a.1, which is use place value understanding to round whole numbers to the nearest 10 or 100. And the goal for the standard is students can use place value to round numbers to the nearest 10 and 100. The prior knowledge for this is everything the students have learned from first grade, kindergarten to second grade, which is working with numbers 11 through 19 to gain foundations for place value. Understand that two-digit number represents amounts of tens and ones, and understand that the three-digit number of a three-digit number represents of hundreds, tens, and ones. Some of the misconceptions for this standard are the rounding rules of 5 or more to round up, under 5.
To model conceptual knowledge for the third grade standards, educators use blank number lines for them to show their work and model rounding to the nearest 10 and 100, as well as base 10 blocks to model place tens values of three-digit numbers, two-digit numbers, and possibly one-digit numbers.
So the next standard I'm going to talk about is for fourth grade. It's the ccs.math.content.4.nbt.a.3, which is use place value understanding to round multiple digit whole numbers to any place. And the goal for the standard is to round whole numbers up to the nearest thousands, hundreds, tens place, and then to also round them down to those same places. And also to use these concepts of rounding to estimate the answers to problems. Again, the prior knowledge builds on everything the students know from kindergarten through third grade, which is understand the two-digit numbers, students to recognize that three-digit numbers and three-digit numbers represent amounts of the hundreds, tens, and ones, and to use the place value understanding to round the whole numbers to the nearest 10 to 100. Again, some of the misconceptions can be students confusing thousands place with the hundreds place, the rounding rule again, and knowing where to put their commas. Instead of using after 3, use a comma, they might just do it after 2. To help them with conceptual knowledge, you will use number lines to determine when to round to the nearest whole number, and also an anchor chart to help them understand the rounding rule better as a visual representation. It might help some students know when to round up and when to round down. The next standard is our fifth grade standard, which is ccs.math.content.5.nbt.a.4, which is use place value understanding to round decimals to any place. The goal is to apply rounding decimals to real life situations. And again, the prior knowledge is anything from kindergarten to fourth grade now, which the misconceptions again are the rounding up and down, and the place value after the decimal point. Like anything from decimal point to the right, it starts in the tens, hundreds, thousands. For their conceptual knowledge, we will use, again, a number line, but this time have numbers including decimals. We will also use money in this money chart because everyone's used to money, and it's an easy representation for them to learn how to see where the tens places and the hundreds places, and learn how to read the number instead of saying point for the decimal point, it's and. They can again use trace 10 blocks too to do the same thing to create ones, tens, and hundreds places. And I think that is all for our standards. Thank you guys.
Our reference page. And thank you for listening.